All right, Steeler fans, welcome back to the second half of the show. Time for the mailbag segment. It's what we always do every single Wednesday. I put out the tweet. I actually remembered this week, so that was a good thing. Got a lot of responses. Find me on Twitter if you want to get your question answered at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. I put out the tweet every Tuesday morning. You respond, and I answer it live here on the air. So let's get this show on the road with the Believers Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. Here we go. With wide receiver seeming to be the biggest need, not including quarterback, what would you be willing to give up for a wide receiver? Are you okay with taking from the collection of picks next year? And so the options are second round, third round, multiple picks, or just grab a free agent. So if I had to vote on this, and I did vote on it, I didn't view this as, I guess the way I read it the first time when I voted, I viewed it as if you're trading for a receiver, what are you willing to give up? And I answered it as a third round draft pick. You give up a third rounder, you get a third rounder for George Pickens, and maybe you give that third rounder away to get another quality receiver that fits better with what you want to do. I'm not giving up multiple picks unless they're late round picks, which who cares? Or it's just I didn't see just grab a free agent as a real option. I do think there are some free agents out there, but I'm not sure if that's the road the Steelers should go down. Let's go to Jeff Coons, our buddy from up north. He said, greetings from Not Mad Canada. Does anyone share my concern that Aaron Rodgers may not be dialed in mentally or in shape? I understand his personal issues and agenda, as is his right as a free agent, but he's also an older athlete closer to retirement than his prime. The quarterback position is like riding a bike to someone like him, but this is another new team, new city, new coaches, roster, and playbook. Can he simply flip the switch, win 11 games, and make the playoffs? With each passing week, I have my doubts. I hope I'm wrong. When it comes to training, okay, I want to keep everyone in line here. When it comes to training, because you said, is he physically dialed in, like in shape? Let's not pretend that Ben Roethlisberger ever was in shape. Let's not pretend that Ben Roethlisberger ever showed up to camp. I remember them saying Ben Roethlisberger is showing up to camp and he is in the best shape of his life. Well, yes, I understand that a circle is a shape. It is a shape, but Ben was never a workout warrior. He didn't care about what he looked like. He just cared about keeping his arm fresh, coming into camp, ready to throw the football. That's Aaron Rodgers at this stage in his career. Aaron Rodgers is not as mobile as he used to be. If anything, he has to keep his arm and his mind right. And I think that honestly, someone like Aaron Rodgers, he needs this time to just be away. Think about what happened when he traveled last year with the Jets, and they really screwed that whole situation up when they could have just said he's an excused absence, but they didn't, and he was out traveling. Let him do his thing. And if he wants to play, he comes in and he's locked in at that point. We'll see. I understand your doubts, though. I really do. All right, let's go to Plain and Simple Maddie. It says, howdy from Atlanta, Jeff. I'm assuming Rodgers is still going to sign, but let's say he doesn't. Do we see Mason the entire year no matter what, or do we see Will Howard getting a shot at some point? I personally want to see what Howard can do, so that would excite me. Would it depend on Rudolph's performance, or how would that situation arise? Well, Maddie, I hope you listened to the first half of the podcast because that's all I talked about. I do think that if Rodgers doesn't sign and Mason Rudolph is not playing well, eventually they would want to see what they have. But if Will Howard doesn't beat out, let's say, okay, Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign. If Will Howard doesn't beat out Skylar Thompson, that's the answer that you need. That's all the answer that all of us need. So I hope you enjoyed the first half. I hope that answered your question. We had several from Brian Haynes. Next, are we ever going to hear Lance on here again? Can that happen? Can you bring him back like you did Blue Check Beck? I miss the banter between you guys and Lance always being a hater. Now, you have to go back to the old school, back when it was Behind the Steel Curtain podcast network, and Lance Williams and I did the Homer and the Hater podcast. And it was great. I enjoyed it. When I left to go to another outlet, and then I eventually came back, Lance stopped when I was gone. Now, Lance did start his own podcast. I think he did it with Neil Coolong. I think it was called The New Standard, or The New Standard is the Standard, something along those lines. And I talked to Lance a couple times last season. He would text me sporadically or a message on Twitter. And at the end of the season, he was so fed up. He said, I'm not podcasting anymore. Not until some serious changes are made. So take that for what it's worth. I have offered Lance to come on my show multiple times, and it's never worked out. I'll try again. I'll see if he wants to come on. I'd love to talk to him. Haven't talked to him in several years, but it's a good question. Next from Brian. In your professional opinion, do you agree or disagree with Ryan Clark that Tomlin needs to leave because his message is stale? Okay, Ryan Clark's in a lot of heat right now for other things besides talking about Mike Tomlin. I think that a coach's message can get stale. I'll be honest. But I think at the same time, I don't know if Mike Tomlin's message is stale. Bill Cowher had the same message over and over and over again. We got to win that one for the thumb. We got to get that Lombardi trophy. And then when they finally did in 2005, it just felt like, now what? And Bill Cowher talks about this in his book, how his wife was sick. He was there in Pittsburgh by himself, and nothing seemed to feel right anymore, and he was just done. I think this Mike Tomlin, I don't think his message is stale. Players still love to be around him. They love to play for him. I think that it's just a matter of what might have gotten stale is not the messaging. It's can he get his coaching staff up to speed? Can he get some methodology and some schematics that are more modern NFL type? That's the challenge, I think, for Mike Tomlin at this stage. As for Ryan Clark, who cares? Next one from Brian Haynes. Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign, no injuries. Do we make the playoffs? So no injuries. Mason Rudolph is the quarterback. I think the Steelers could make the playoffs if they don't have injuries. And I'm saying no injuries. I'm talking about like TJ Watt stays healthy. Alex Highsmith stays healthy. Cam, Minka, all the offensive players. Yeah, I think they can. I absolutely think they can. Let's go to Nathan Van Slyke. Said, hey, Jeff, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign by time training camp rolls around, should the Steelers just move forward with Mason as QB1? I would say that Aaron Rodgers, if I'm the Steelers, you got to be here for minicamp. We need you here at minicamp. Be here with your teammates. Phase 3 of OTAs. You're getting a rapport with the guys that you're going to be throwing passes to. You're getting to know the offensive line. You're getting to know the offensive system. I think that's my deadline, is you got to be here by mandatory minicamp. There are some rumors out there swirling that he will. I don't know. We'll see. Let's go to Dave Dixon. I see Brian mentioned him already, but do you find Ryan Clark insufferable like I do? He was a missile as a safety on the field. Now the only heat he seeks seems like race bait. I find it disappointing and exhausting. Curious of your take. Thanks for your great work, Jeff. Thanks for the question, Dave. So I'm not going to touch the race baiting and stuff because I don't live in that world. I really don't. I see what you're saying, and it is what it is. Like, he's going to try and drum up attention, clicks, if you want to call it, whatever. I think that Ryan Clark is doing exactly what ESPN wants him to do. ESPN, and this goes all the way back probably till, you talk about the anthem stuff, standing for the national anthem, even get into the 2020 time and all that craziness that happened. During those times, like, ESPN shifted, and they didn't care so much about people that wanted to talk about the X's and O's. They wanted people that wanted to talk about the other topics, the social topics. I don't care about the social impact of sports. I watch sports for entertainment. I tell people when they ask me what I do for a living, I say I'm in the entertainment business because that's exactly what I do. Ryan Clark is unsufferable at times, but he's also not alone, and he's doing everything that ESPN wants him to be. All right, let's go to RJ McCollum. Said, I just want to give a shout out to Dave Schofield. Wow, not even on. He has his own show, but that's fine. He said, I messaged him about the audio on Pittsburgh Standard Time. He was right on it and got it fixed. He succeeded in a reasonable expectation. So I'll make sure, Dave, Dave listens to Let's Ride. Dave, good job. Whatever you did, keep it up. Let's go to John Pennington. Jeff, is it past time for Art to pull the offer for Rodgers off the table and go with the quarterbacks the Steelers have on the roster to fight it out to be the starter? I wouldn't wait another day for Rodgers. I told you guys I would wait until minicamp. Mandatory minicamp, man. We got to know. We have to know. For sure, we got to know. The Steelers might say training camp. I think that's way too long. So we'll see what happens. Let's go to Lumberzack 94. Hey, Jeff. Weird one with a lot that can happen in between, but say Captain Cam has the same level of play as last year all the way through his contract. Would you extend him if he's showing no signs of slowing down? If so, what would his contract look like? Captain Cam playing after this contract, that would be insane. But there are players that have done it, defensive linemen that have done it. And so I would say, let's see how he finishes. The deal would have to be right for Pittsburgh, though. Like that would have to be paramount. They would have to say, we're super comfortable with Cam Hayward at his age, playing for another 1 or 2 years. But hey, if you want to do year to year and he wants to just keep coming back, and the one thing that has to change, though, it has to start this year. And when you invest in Derek Hartman and Wyatt Black, it has to happen this year. His snap totals can't be as high as they were. If Cam Hayward's still playing 70% of the defensive snaps, that's too much. That's too much if you want to keep him fresh, keep him healthy, extend his career. It's a great question, though. All right, let's go to a couple more. Doc M, Southside Doc. He said, I want you to answer a question 2 different ways. With the offense where it is currently, with the players and scheme, why would Mason be a better fit than Rodgers? And then the second part, why would Rodgers be a better fit than Mason? All right, let's go to the first one. Why would Mason be a better fit than Rodgers? I think Mason Rudolph, and I'm going to go back to, this was back when the Steelers signed Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. I had Derek Bell. Derek Bell has his own YouTube channel. He does work with Alan Saunders at SteelersNow.com. And we talked a lot about the offensive system that was going to be implemented in Pittsburgh. Arthur Smith's system, and he always, this is Derek, always went back to what he wanted, Arthur Smith, out of Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. And there were a couple other factors. He had a big-time playmaker in A.J. Brown. He had a quarterback in Ryan Tannehill who did exactly what he wanted, and he had a dominant running back in Derrick Henry. So this year you look at, okay, they've got DK Metcalf. They have a combo of Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and now Caleb Johnson. And Mason Rudolph could be that Ryan Tannehill-like quarterback. And when I say what that is that there's not going to be much second guessing. It's going to be, I want you to do this on this play. I'm going to call the play. Don't guess it. When your back foot hits the ground, I want you firing that ball over the middle of the field, and Pat Freiermuth is going to be open. Hit it. In that respect, I think Mason Rudolph could actually be a better fit because he's going to trust that the play is going to be there, and he's going to do exactly what the coaches want him to do. And he's going to have a pretty high rate of execution. And you want Mason Rudolph to throw the ball over the middle? He can, and he will. And you think about the players they had last year. Justin Fields, not really. Justin Fields was the drop back, first read's not there, scramble, run. And Russell Wilson was drop back, oh my gosh, the pocket's collapsed, I'm going to try to spin out, create some chaos on the outside, and deliver a pass down the field. That's not what Arthur Smith wants. Mason Rudolph could be that guy. Now, let's do the other side. Why would Rodgers be a better fit than Mason? Because Rodgers is more accurate. He has a better understanding of the defense. He'll probably have a better understanding of the offense. He'll be able to pick it up quickly. And he's going to be able to execute. He's going to be able to execute at a level that Mason Rudolph can't because of his arm talent. Even though he's good at 41, he'll be 42 this year, I think. He still has a ridiculous arm in terms of accuracy, touch. Mason doesn't have that. Well, and that's not a cut on Mason. Not many quarterbacks in NFL history have had that. So in that regard, that's why Rodgers could be a better fit than Mason. But I could see Rodgers also overanalyzing things, getting disgruntled, not being happy with the way things are going. So yeah, it's like tit for tat there. Let's finish this up with Steeler Fan 69, as we always do with some dad jokes. He writes, hello, my friend. Last night, the internet stopped working, so I spent a few hours with my family. They seem like good people. All right, next one, and the last one. I just picked up a bottle of that new Fred Flintstone aftershave. It's strong stuff. You only need to use a tiny bit. A little dabadoo. A little dab will do you. There you go. Very good. Thank you very much, Steeler Fan 69, for always injecting some humor into the podcast. We do appreciate it. And I want to thank everyone for submitting questions for the mailbag segment. I hope you all enjoyed this show. I actually had it was interesting going down those 2 roads and seeing exactly what will happen with the Steelers quarterback situation. But that does it for me. I'll be back on Friday. We'll have Jeremy Jerome Betts back for the All Bets Are Off segment on Friday. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out all of our podcasts and check out SteelCurtainNetwork.com. You know how we finish these up, though. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday, folks. Go Steelers.